The old oak stood at the forest's edge, a gnarled skeletal hand reaching towards the twilight sky. Its bark was as black as dried blood, twisted into grotesque faces by centuries of wind and weather. This was no ordinary tree. It was a sentinel guarding the secrets of the ancient wood. Locals whispered of its malevolence, of the darkness it harbored. But teenagers, fueled by bravado and a thirst for the unknown, ignored the warnings. They came on a dare, 4 friends testing the boundaries of fear and legend. There was Jake, the cocky leader, brimming with false confidence. Emily, the skeptic, trying to mask her growing unease. Ben, the quiet one, his eyes darting nervously in the fading light. And Chloe, the adventurous one, her initial excitement giving way to a prickling sense of dread. "See? Just a tree," Jake scoffed, slapping the oak's rough bark. A hollow boom echoed in the stillness like the groan of a dying beast. The air, thick with the smell of damp earth and decaying leaves, seemed to cling to them, heavy and oppressive. They ventured deeper, the woods swallowing them whole. Shadows stretched long and skeletal, twisting familiar shapes into menacing phantoms. The last rays of sunlight bled through the dense canopy, casting an eerie, almost otherworldly glow on the forest floor. Emily shivered, pulling her jacket tighter. "Maybe we should head back," she suggested, her voice barely a whisper. Jake laughed, his bravado a thin veil over his own growing unease. They pressed on, the forest closing in around them like a fist. As darkness fell, the woods came alive. The rustle of leaves morphed into whispered threats. The snap of a twig became the measured tread of something unseen stalking them through the undergrowth. Ben swore he saw figures flitting between the trees, their eyes glowing with malevolent intent. Chloe stumbled, her hand brushing against something cold and slick. She recoiled with a gasp, her heart pounding in her chest. It was just a moss-covered rock, but the fear, once seeded, blossomed in the pit of her stomach. "Did you hear that?" Emily whispered, her voice trembling. A low growl resonated through the trees, sending shivers down their spines. The air grew heavy, charged with a palpable sense of dread. Something was hunting them. They all felt it. Section 4. The Watcher Awakens. A blood-curdling scream shattered the silence. Chloe. They spun around, their flashlights cutting through the darkness, searching frantically for their friend. There, a grotesque figure, half hidden in the shadows, its eyes burning with malevolent red light. It lunged. Jake, paralyzed with fear, could only watch as Chloe vanished into the darkness, her scream echoing through the trees. He wanted to run, to scream, to fight, but terror had rooted him to the spot. Ben, his eyes wide with terror, turned and ran. He didn't get far. A snapping sound, a sickening thud, and then silence. Emily, tears streaming down her face, made a desperate break for freedom. The forest floor rushed up to meet her as she tripped, her ankle twisting beneath her. She cried out in pain and fear, the sound swallowed by the darkness. Section 5. Eternal Silence. Jake was alone, his friends gone, swallowed by the woods. He looked back at the ancient oak, its silhouette stark against the moonlit sky. He could have sworn it looked different now, more menacing, its branches dripping with an oily black substance. Or maybe it was just his imagination playing tricks on him in his terror. He didn't wait to find out. He ran, scrambling through the undergrowth, his breath ragged in his throat. He didn't look back. He couldn't bear to see if anything was following him. He burst out of the tree line, gasping for air, his clothes torn, his skin scratched and bleeding. He never spoke of what he saw that night, but the memory lingered, a dark stain on his soul. The Watcher remained in the woods, its hunger unsated, its presence a chilling reminder that some places are best left undisturbed.